contributing in different international and national committees. She is also active in the supervision of PhD thesis. So today's coordinator, the coordinator for today's session will be Dr. Shoibal Mojumdar, who is an assistant professor at the Department of Computer Science and Engineering Department at Greater Kolkata College of Engineering and Management. So without any further delay, we can now begin the session. Sir, over to you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So, without any delay, I will just request today's speaker, Dr. Swastika Chakraborty, to start his hard talk. And I request all the participants that they should unmute themselves and turn off the video. Only you just unmute, you can unmute or turn on the video only if you have any query from your end. Otherwise, I request all the participants to mute and turn off your video from your end. So, madam, you can start your talk then.
Good morning, everybody. Am I audible? Good morning.
Yes, madam, you are audible.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, madam.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, madam.
Okay, okay. I'm sharing. Okay, okay. Okay. I'm sharing my screen. Let us start today's discussion. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Visible?
Yes, madam. Yes.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay. So, let us start.
Yes.
Okay. Today we will discuss on the very serious topic in today's internet era, that is plagiarism. Is a serious academic dishonesty. Every resources is
sorry to interrupt, madam.
Fingertips in the.
Sorry to interrupt you, madam. Your screen right now, it is not visible.
Hello. Hello.
Yes. Your screen right now is not visible.
Okay. Okay. Let's check. Let us check once again.
Yes, sir.
Now also?
No, madam. It is still not visible.
Internet connection, because most probably due to internet connection. Let us check once again. Another connection. Share. Now?
Yes, madam. It is visible right now. Yes, madam.
Now it is visible.
Yes.
Okay. So today we are going to discuss about the plagiarism, a serious academic dishonesty in this digital era. As you know, all of us, every resources at the internet era is in our fingertips. So it is right now very easy to gather knowledge. At the same time, right now it is very difficult to check, to make personal. For me also, it is very easy. We can get the resources, but without plagiarism, production is a very necessity. We cannot compromise here. We don't know also what is the extent of penalty that we all have to bear with if the plagiarism is found somewhere. So let us be very perfect about the very serious about the plagiarism while creating our own research document. This is very necessity. So putting a prominent author, we all see the same things, but we need to contextualize. We can use the design as a reference, but we need to channelize and find our own expression. Not me, Arpan Shah. That is the main slogan. It should be, we need to channelize and find our expression, own expression. We cannot copy. You cannot copy, rather you will respect. Respectfully, we can learn. We can produce the learning. We can produce the lesson, but we cannot copy in toto. This is the serious academic dishonesty. So generally, it's also all of us know, an act of instance of using, closely imitating the language or thoughts or any work just into copying without giving the proper credit to that particular author, original author. This is a academic dishonesty, serious academic dishonesty. So maybe sometimes not intentional. Maybe sometimes it is not unconditional. Even though I listed my reference, I did not cite them through my paper. This is, though I don't want it, but it is a dishonesty. So research, we can say, however novel its discoveries, is only any value if it is carried out through properly, with honesty. We cannot trust the results of a research project if we suspect that this is not original, researcher have not acted with integrity. So although it might be easy enough to take the shortcuts, in today's era, it's now very easy to take the shortcuts, or even though it is harsh to hear, this is basically a cheating. It really is not worth it. Not only will your research be discredited when you are found out, but you will suffer severe penalties. You will suffer severe penalties and humiliation, not only in the personal life, in professional life, in academic life, in everywhere. Maybe the effect of it is long ranging, not now, but so basically, not only will your research be discredited when you are found out, but you will suffer it, penalties in the long run also, and humiliation in the long run. It's a simple matter to follow the clear guidelines in citation that will prevent you being accused of passing off other people's work as your own work. This is called the plagiarism. In fact, to refer to or quote other people's work is seen as a virtue and demonstrate that you have read widely about your subject and are knowledgeable about the most important people and their ideas. Working with human participation, this is another matter. We have to actually know the tidbits of the research to produce the internal research. Suppose we have used the human participants in your research, maybe. So working with human participants in research always raises an ethical issues. Basically, it's an ethical issues. You people, I am sure that you have submitted your paper elsewhere in a very good journal, but the ethical issues, we are giving the consent or disconsent by ticking the checkbox. whenever we have experienced in different conditions. Most probably we have always we are not in a mood to read, or if we are actually reading, we are not convinced, sort of. So working with human participants in your research always raises ethical issues about how you treat them. How you treat them. People should be treated with respect. People should be treated with respect, which has many implications for how exactly you deal with them before. Basically, it's a matter of respect, not just to copy. During and after the research, educational and professional organization, if you were to see in a global perspective, educational and professional organizations who oversee research projects have strict ethical guidances that must be followed. However, the issues can become quite complicated with no clear-cut solutions. Once it is done, there is no clear-cut solution. That it is therefore important that you consult with others, especially advisors appointed for the people, for the purpose. Who are the advisors? How to respect it, how to reflect your respect to your creative work, not just to copy. It is not bad to learn from others' lessons, or it is not bad to learn from others' work, but it is bad to just suppress them, just placing it as my own work. Even you are not using human participants in your research, there is a still question of honesty in the way you collect, analyze, interpret data. Always you see there is a checkbox. If you have used the human participation, how have you respect them? How have you dealt them? So by explaining exactly how you arrived at your conclusions, you can avoid the acquisition of cover-ups of false reasoning. So generally, the two aspects of ethical issues in research, mainly we are concerned of the individual values. Individual values of the researcher relating to honesty, uh, not only honesty, we should say relating to frankness and the personal integrity. That matters. Faith, reliability, that matters. The researcher's treatment of other people. Researcher's treatment of other people involved in the research relating to informed consent, confidentiality, anonymity, and courtesy. So, confidentiality, anonymity, and courtesy. Mind that these are the very big words for the research. First of all, so informed consent. While you are involving others, while you are collaborating with others, while you are going to present some work out of your collaboration, take a decent consent. Only consent, gentle consent, not to avoid him or her, just decent consent. Relating to the consent, informed consent, maintain the confidentiality. This is required. Maintain the confidentiality, maintain the courtesy, maintain the confidentiality, maintain the courtesy, and also anonymity. Anonymity, thing is anonymous. So maintain it whenever and go by him or her advice. I mean, respect him. Simple, respect him, not avoid him. Just respect him. Although the principles underpinning ethical practices are fairly straightforward and easy to understand. What I want to do now, mostly in here in our perspective, we are not value what are the advices are given. That's why there are some mistakes. Sometimes it is, sometimes most of the time unintentionally, which is done right now, which we have to be the sufferer after a quite a long time. It's possible, we cannot believe it, but it is true. So, the principles underpinning any ethical practices, they are fairly straightforward, easy to understand. Their application can be quite difficult in certain situations. Not all the decisions can be clear cut in the realm of human relations. It's not possible. So organizations and ethical committees, coming to, am I audible? Connection is stable?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
Okay. In the organization, nowadays, every organizations have a ethics committee. They have got a ethics committee. All organizations that are involved in research that involving human participants, this committee, they have set up a code of practice. It varies from organization to organization, but underlying rules are the same. So that are involved in research, that involving human participants, have set up a code of practice for their researchers. There is a code of practice for their researchers. To see the typical example of these type of guidelines, you can refer to the some web pages. I can give you some afterwards. I'll give you some web pages given by not in India, the British Educational Research Association. You can be the member of that association. You can then be aware of the guidelines whenever you are producing some creative work. Now, this is not limited to your country's boundary. Now, it is international. So obviously there are some guidelines that is very good organization, British Educational Research Organizations or the British Sociological Association. You can be the member. I'll give you some link. You can be there. Ethical guidelines they are following. You will have to follow in the long run. In our nation also, it will be very familiar. Nowadays, it is not so popular. Basically, we are in the teaching domain, but nowadays we are moving towards the research era. Gradually, we are shifting our focus from the teaching to the research. Then we have to ideally what is followed around the world, we have to follow. Of course, so universities will have their own code of practice. Role of ethics committee is there. Role of ethics committee is to oversee the research carried out in their organization in relation to ethical issues. So it is they who have formulated the research ethics code of conduct and monitor its application in the research carried out by the members of their organization. So for that reason, if you use something, I mean, if the laboratory experiment, it's concentrating on the laboratory experiment, you go for the purchasing with the proper documentation. If it is statistical survey sort of, you take the proper approval for making the survey. If your survey just take the approval with the proper way and cite it in your paper where from you got the data, and this data is authenticated to use for your research purpose. So applying for ethics approval inevitably involved in the filling of some form and take the approval in a genuine, gentle way. So honesty in your work is very important. It's not essential, not only essential, it's a very, very, very important. Not only to enable straightforward above board communication, but to assure a level of trust. Trust cannot be made in one day, but if you can get the trust of others, it is a perpetual one if you can maintain it properly. So this is the credibility, this is the trust in the outcome of your research. Research can be of any topic, any topic of your interest, but should be done in a decent way, in a proper way, not in a hurry, try to copy something and publish something without maintaining the ethics. That will not only create a mistrust, not only create a the difficulty in reliability, it is very harmful for your career. So this applies to all researchers, no matter what subject they are investigating, no matter what subject they are investigating, although honesty must be maintained in all aspects of the research work, it is worth focusing here on several of the most important issues. I'm not going for very much of slide, but if you have any doubt, you can ask me. Secondly, intellectual ownership. This is very important. Intellectual ownership and plagiarism. Unless otherwise you are stated, what you write will be regarded as your own work. If you have not mentioned that this is from the website sources, this is from the some quote, if you are producing, it is your work. So the ideas will be considered your own unless you say to the contrary. If you mention it, then it is okay. Otherwise, it is yours. The worst offense against honesty in this respect is called plagiarism, which we are discussing now. Directly copying someone work into your report, thesis, and letting it be assumed that it is your own work. Actually, what happens is that your work plagiarism check is the first and foremost thing which is done whenever you are going to submit your thesis in the in any university. It is a must now, and of course plagiarism should be below 10%. Some format is there, something is there when necessarily you have to do the same format for that 10% is allowed. Actually, we are nowadays there are so many conferences we are used to with that, but below 10% means it is your own work, except some formatting purpose. So unless otherwise stated, what you will write, it is yours, its responsibility yours only. So using the thoughts, ideas, and works of others without acknowledging the source, it's neither it's an academic offense, and that offense we should not do in any way. So even if you paraphrased in your own work, it is unethical. Equally serious in claiming the sole authorship of work, which is in fact the result of basically your collaboration, right? So its general definition, plagiarism, perhaps the most serious and the most widely recognized ethical lapse, is an act of presenting someone else's ideas of your own with or without their consent, incorporating it into your own work without full acknowledgement. So citing, attribution, it's important to learn how to cite it and properly cite it, matter over. There will be a clear, very good relation, collaboration, nothing to hide, but to achieve the trust, the reliability that will be asset for your upcoming future. So all published or unpublished material, whether it is manuscript, printed in electronic form, is covered under this definition. So maybe intentional or reckless or unintentional, it is done. So before that, we should say how to cite it, acknowledgement and citation, how to produce it. Obviously, in no field of research can you rely entirely in your own ideas. Is it possible? It's not possible. Nobody has stated it, you are stating it at first time. No, never. You are doing the work over some thing that is done, not only very recent topic. Maybe it's the topic of interest is very long, it is for my case, initially being a communication engineer, I'm working on the propagation area, communication area. Since long back, this started. So something unique, something new you have to do to get the proper SCI index, proper paper. This is the thing. That doesn't mean I am doing for the first time. No. Years after year, people are doing that. I'm doing some new, some novelty, something that I have found out. And in case of a new topic, it's very easy to produce rather than taking a very old topic. And there are so many, many materials. every point of time there is a scope of copying, but it's a temptation also, but you are not copying. So in no field of research can you rely entirely on your ideas, in your concepts, in your theories. It's not possible. You can avoid accusation of plagiarism by acknowledging the source. You just acknowledge the source of the features and their originators within your text. So this is called the citation. You cite it properly. Although there are several well-established citation methods, you know the citation methods. If you Google, there are different styles. They all consist of brief annotation or number placed within the text that identify the cited material, and a list of reference at the end of the text that give the full publication details of the source material. So this method of reference can cater for direct quotation of or ideas from the work of others gathered from a wide variety of sources, not only the internet. Of course, internet is ebook is also internet resources, books, journal, conference talks, interviews. So maybe in some other field, TV programs, in the not only not solely for the engineering, I'm talking about for the research of all field, plagiarism in every field. So that you should also include the assistance of others and any collaborations with others, usually in the form of written acknowledgement at the beginning or at the end of the report. So responsibility you have to take, accountability or you have to take. This is the responsibility and accountability of the researcher. Apart from the correct attribution, honesty is essential in the substance of what you write, you know. So this is very essential. So you do have responsibilities to fellow researchers. You do have responsibilities to the fellow respondents, to the public and the academic community. Accurate descriptions are required of what you have done and how you have done it, the information that you have obtained, the techniques that you have used, the methodologies that you have described, that you have practiced, the analysis that you have carried out, and the results of experiments. That's a myriad of the details concerning every part of your work. So coming to the data, maybe you have taken some data from somewhere. Of course, it must be authenticated. And mainly we are doing some interpretation of the data in different methods that are adopted. Although it's a difficult thing, and some maintain that it's impossible to be free from bias. Sometimes bias unintentionally it has come, but you have to make it bias free. Distorting your data or result knowingly is a serious lapse of honesty. Don't distort your result. Maybe result is not as expected. Try to explore, try to find out why it is not expected. Don't manage it. So managing will make the time shorter, but managing will give you penalty in the long run. So try to find out if the expected result is not coming, why it is not coming. Scientific objective should be maintained as much as possible. So if you can see any reason, maybe that is the important thing in your life. So if you can see any reason for a possibility of bias in any aspect of research, it should be acknowledged or it should be explained. And that explanation may give you a new, very unique point for you, very unique idea for you, uniqueness for you for the next of your career. So it should be acknowledged and it should be explained where there is a discrepancies. I mean, discrepancy is what is expected, what you are getting. That's it. So if the study involves personal judgments and assessment, the basis for this should be given. Silently rejecting or silently ignoring the evidences which happens to the contrary to one's beliefs or being too selective in the data used and in presenting the result of analysis, that you have to pay for the future. That constitutes a breach of integrity. The sources of financial support, if you have got it, I mean, any grant or something like that, not only the government grants, institutional grant is also, that should be properly acknowledged. The sources of financial support for the research activities should be mentioned, and that should be the sponsorship from the sources. We always have to acknowledge it, which might influence the impartiality of the research outcomes, that should be avoided. Right. So it's a good thing, if you are avoiding the grants and all. I know this is not always the intentional thing. Maybe this is an unintentional thing, but you don't do that, because if you can do it now, the citation will increase. People will appreciate you. People will try to give you more. If, of course, everybody wants the best and best publication, best and best creative work, every funding agency that must have the intention, while they pump in the money, of course they want some result, and you have to reach to the result in some way or other. So where you stand, the theoretical perspective, or you mean epistemology of the researcher, should be made clear at the outset of the research, so that ground rules or assumptions, without assumption we cannot do, we cannot go from the scratch. So in anyone, you have to make some assumption. So that should be very clear at the outset of the research, so that the ground rules or assumptions that underpin the research can be understood by the readers, and in some instances, the subject of research. So one of the principal functions of doing background research is to explore just this aspect and to come to the decisions on theory that will form the basis of your research approach, right? The theoretical approach will influence the type of the data collection and analysis sorry, and the analysis used. So these methods are not ethically neutral. So they will raise the ethical issues in the long run. So actually what happens in my slide, you can see plagiarism comes from the Latin plagiarize, that is meaning is the kidnapper. These are derived from the Latin plaga. So this is extended in meaning in Latin to include a person who stole the words. Kidnapping, all of you know. So rather than the children of another, when plagiarize first entered in English, in the plagiary, kept the original reference. So kidnapping essays that is now quite obsolete, right? So again, coming to the Anne Robertson, research is finding out the things that we don't know, while ethics is doing it in a way that does not hurt anyone. Does not hurt anyone. Hey, this is the main thing we have to take care of. It should not hurt anyone. Ethics refers to the norms for conduct that distinguish between the acceptable and unacceptable behavior. So suppose in research life it happens, you want to avoid somebody. So you don't use his work, don't just avoiding means not in a wrong way. Just don't use, take just distance. Simple as that. Not this thing that the work is very fine, so I am stealing something, but not mentioning him or her contribution. So that makes a permanent, maybe not in the very near professional atmosphere, globally it creates a hurt. People will be hurt. So don't make some practice. The situations that can raise the ethical issues, try to avoid it. So social research, not only our technical laboratory is concerned, research means a research. Social research and other forms of research, we study people, we study the relationship. Research basically is a lot based on the statistical data collection and all. So we study the people and their relationship to each other and to the world, that need to be particularly sensitive about the issues of ethical behavior. So, as this kind of research often impinges on the sensibilities of right and right of other people, researcher must be aware of necessary ethical standards which should be observed to avoid any harm which might be caused by carrying out of publishing the result of your research project. So you must be take care of the research aims. Where is the uniqueness of your aim? If it is created previously, where you are going to tell something new, use of language, proper language and presentation pattern, and also dealing with the participants. That is also very important thing, how to deal with the participants. After that, you set your goal, you set your objective, you start carrying out the research. So there may be potential harm or potential gain. The the principle behind the ethical research is to cause no harm, and if possible to produce some gain. Do not make any harm. If possible, produce some gain for the participants. So, in the project and their wider field. So, therefore, the researchers should assess the potential of the chosen research method. You know what happened in a research project? Maybe 2 or 3 are working for the PhD degree. Maybe 2 or 3 students, they are not working for the PhD degree. Maybe that helps to the career of the student. So, do not ethically, if you can properly respect the people, those who are helping in the path of your research project. Maybe for the society it will be harmful, maybe it's helpful, maybe it's a gain, it's no harm. So this involves the potential of the chosen research method and the outcome. Just keep a vigil that it causes gain. It is not harm any or hurt any sentiment in the, so maintain the ethical matters. This involves the recognizing what the risk might be and choosing the right method and minimize the risk, avoiding making any revelations that could in any way be harmful to the reputation, dignity and privacy of the subject. So dignity here, not you are the individual. We all are belongs to some institute, you know. So individual dignity refers to the institute dignity. If some our misconduct, misbehavior creates a harm in the form of plagiarism or something like that, so it causes at the same time there is a perception, there is a notion about the institute, the how this is. So every institute right now is very cautious about the plagiarism sort of thing, and they are maintaining their ethical standard. Those who have the research code of conduct, they have initiated there. Otherwise, to my knowledge, most of the promising colleges, they have got their anti-plagiarism software. Check through it. I'll give you some resources. If you don't have anything, you can check through some anti-plagiarism software I'm going to show. So, because you have to take the help of the data, so you will record the data. So, there is a danger of simplifying transcripts when writing up the data from interview and open questions. Maybe the pattern will be same. When you clean up and organize the data, make it on your own style, you can start to impose your own interpretation, ignoring, suppose you are taking interview, so vocal inflection, repetition, aside, subtitles or humor, thereby losing some of the meaning. So then what happened? What will you do? It is natural, it is coming. You interpret in your own way so that plagiarism will not cause any harm. So further distortion that can be introduced by being governed by one's own particular assumptions. So some participants' involvement always will be there. Questions about the rapport are raised in your research entails that close communication between you, the researcher, and the participants that will choose those involved in the understand the motivation for your action and do this, conform your practice. So mind it carefully. You should not take the familiarity so far as to deceive in order to extract information that the participants might later regret giving. Don't do that. Never be should you raise the unrealistic expectation in order to ingratiate yourselves. So take care of the sensitive material also. So information can be thrown up that is of sensitive nature, may be of sensitive nature, which is if revealed that could do damage to the participants or to other people. It so happened. So in every case, what will you do? Will have to be judged individually. It does not take the sensitive data. If it is mandatory to take it, then you take in a proper way. If this information is relevant to the research, it must be presented in such a way that individuals are not damaged by assuring confidentiality and anonymity. So in case of, for example, unfairness, victimization or bullying, it is unwise. It is very unwise that to lead them. Rather, you try to take a escape route, how you can generalize and present in any other way. So you do not personally involve, get personally involved, but it may be possible to give advice to the participants about who to contact for help, such as your school tutor or any the society. Actually, research is not escaping the society. Research is for the societal benefit. So you have to involve the societal participants, but carefully. So honesty, deception, and covert method. So
Madam,
it's a basic.
one thing I just sorry to interrupt. Your present slide is not being viewed over here. The present slide where you are in actually.
Oh, actually, everything is not written in the slide.
Okay. I thought that there might be some internet issue.
No.
Okay, no problem. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Everything is not written in the slide. It's a matter where we are practicing now. So,
yes, madam.
That's why I'm just discussing.
Okay. No issues, madam.
Oh, I'll change.
Yes.
Very little.
Okay.
So, honesty is a basic tenet of ethically sound research, So any type of deception, it's a calling deception, and the use of covert method should be ruled out. You might argue that the certain information of benefit to the society so can only be gained by these methods due to obstruction by the people or organization. So take care of the Data Protection Act of 1998. That is also there. So that's why I have told you in the previous case, go for some ethical norms of some reputed universities, the Data Protection Act, go by this act. Generally, our very good journals, they are, while you are submitting your contribution, they are taking some commitment sort of from you, ticking and deticking the box. Generally, we don't have any option, so we are ticking the box, but they have some meaning. So it's appropriate to pass the draft of your research report on to colleagues or the supervisor for comment. Pass on to it. You are not only people who are doing, we are not so exceptional also. So only with the provision that the content is kept confidential. That trust, that reliability must be there. Before publishing it, that should be kept confidential, particularly up to that point of time, it is not ready for the publication and dissemination at this stage. So, intellectual independence of the findings of the report that could be undermined if you allow some sponsors. If you are getting the sponsor of your research, generally we see that there is a value. Why the people will sponsor? Money is everything, you know. So when the people are investing money, of course, there is some significance of your research. So the intellectual independence of the findings of the report that could be undermined if you allow sponsor to make a comments on a draft and the demand changes to be made to conclusion, they are contrary of their interest. So it's not practical to let respondents read and edit the large amounts of primary data. Always it is not possible. So dissemination you have to do, but dissemination you have to do very carefully. Dissemination of the result, making the confidentiality, maintaining the confidentiality up to the point of the publication. So dissemination you have to do in the conference or in a journal paper, but up to that, maintain the confidentiality up to that. Website or other type of publication are inevitably involves the reducing the length of the material, perhaps changing the style also. So it is the natural in this digital era. So you take care of the point if you can. So that is required. So disposing of record in a suitable time and method that should be decided for disposing of the records at the end of this research project. Ideally, the matter that will have to be agreed with the participants or part of their informed the project that should be within the project group, and you have to disseminate in some stage, but maintain confidentiality up to that stage. The basic policy to ensure that all the data is made with proper within the proper authorization circle, not outside the circle. So what you do, you change the style, you encode these, you encrypt these, so that people cannot tamper your result. One thing is that you don't want to manipulate the result. If you find which is not very you can according to assumption, it is not like that you are getting something new, don't try to manage it, but try to dig it, why it is coming. That will give you the uniqueness of the result. So this is, you have to maintain up to the point of publication. I have changed the slide right now only. Kidnapping of ideas. Plagiarism means kidnapping of ideas. Not the only thing is that the two types of plagiarisms are there, you know. One is the plagiarism of ideas and plagiarism of text. Not the textual plagiarism can be checked by your software or something like that. There are another type of plagiarism also, plagiarism of ideas. So this is also, in another word, this is called literary theft. This is a literary theft. All here in the slide, this is a website material. I'm just discussing because we have to practice it. Edition, what we learn is what is the next day. If you can take the can require some help, if I can. So not only the textual plagiarism is a plagiarism, idea plagiarism is also a plagiarism. So research with a sometimes with a superficial magnification, sometimes without giving credit to the originator, it is done. But it's not, I'm talking about the improvement of the model. In the research, not only for me, for in and around what you said, the model is an established model. We are making some improvement of the model. Improve the model, validate the model with a realistic ground truth. Ground truth. Today's world, it's called ground truth. So validate the model with ground truth. That is no harm. But conceptually, our idea is something. Somebody has some idea. Don't steal the idea. So while passing through someone's research work, the causal interaction in individual, even if all not connected with the scholarly and the scientific work. So issue of plagiarism actually is not easy, you know. So actually in engineering college, today's case, we are every project report is also, we are checking it for to make it free from plagiarism. But sometimes in the research life, intentional or unintentionally, it is done. So not do anything, you just have to properly cite it, that's it. So however, increase the plagiarism case with the ease of access to the electronic material. The material in my hand, so I am doing that. At the 90s, when we have to go physically to the libraries to check a book, there is a plagiarism. If you want to do, it's very difficult to check, but now it is not difficult to check in the internet era. So we have to change the strategy. Not the strategy, honesty. You have to maintain the honesty. So there is no direct evidence that the students electronically cut and paste the material into assignment or purchase this something from somewhere. So potential for this kind of problem exists, though some good plagiarism software that is showing. So it's perhaps worth noting that good practices in dealing with the plagiarism is also good practices in terms of learning, in terms of teaching, in terms of assessing it more generally, in terms of exploring, in terms of presenting it sequentially. So setting the same assignment question or same assessment question year after year, allowing for the individual input and resorting to unseen examination are not conductive to real thing. But unfortunately, so many students experience, they are characterizing, they are making it a feature. It's not good enough to say the students that should not do it. What we should do, you know, today's era, produce me the anti-plagiarism report. This is required. So an institution, sometimes for the senior researchers also, they are repeatedly commenting, madam, I have written of my own. But when the anti-plagiarism software putting, it shows a 46% plagiarism. I have seen. Of course, you know, there are some softwares also in today's world, which is you don't have to do anything, but this is not a good practice. Again, I am telling you, whatever you are doing now, you write of your own, you conceive of your own, if you produce ideas of your own, that is necessary. But some rephrasing softwares are also available. Those who are not unwilling to do anything, there are some rephrasing software, online software, they will just rephrase your context. But if anything and everything is not possible by a candidate, generally we all the seniors people, coming for the research, for the PhD work, just for the sake of getting the degree, they are not willing to write of their own. This is the real life situation, what I'm telling you. So there are some rephrasing softwares also, online checking also, where from this is done. So actually, you don't have to, in any case, in any ways, you rephrase it. You take the help of writing from any good editorial house. Whatever you do, but it should not reflect at the time of producing your thesis or submitting your paper. This is the academic dishonesty, academic offense. For a single research guide, research supervisor, two scholars of same type of thesis, so same type of plagiarism is a usual fact, but it should not be any case. So it's difficult to, so unconscious plagiarism of ideas. So when an author generates an idea that she believes it to be original, but in reality that it has encountered, so maybe cleverly she is managing something. So it is difficult to give a simple applicable definition, as different disciplines and institutions, they have varying tradition and convention of what might be considered as common knowledge, thus not need referencing by an expert in a subject is different from the novice first year student. For a widely, some novice first year student, they are the cleverest, and some old age researcher, they are ignoring the fact. Why to invest some time? Sort of attitude I have found that. However, a widely shared understanding is that plagiarism occurs when someone tries to pass off someone else's acknowledgement, someone else's work through ideas without appropriate acknowledgement. So recognize them, acknowledge them, and acknowledge anything and everything, data, your funding, your if the data, funding, neither, hosting, where the institution, your affiliation, now it's the era of infinite data. So you properly recognize all the facilities that you have faced, that you have taken the help throughout your research career. It is important, very important to recognize that plagiarism does just apply to the written work, whether it is the reports, dissemination, or laboratory result, whatever, can also apply to plans, or it can also apply to projects, the designs, whatever presentation you are doing, generated, as simple as that. So thing is over. So it's a form of, otherwise you have to somehow get out of this dishonesty along with collusion or fabrication. So plagiarism, if it is done, it demotivates the participants who see their efforts are being undermined. In my case also it happens. After publishing a good quality journal, or if after some years, if I can found that some other researchers are copying, we can ignore it, but it harms the sentiment. So who fail to deal with it, make it the situation even worse. But some institutional, it's very good to know that some institutional bindings, some institutional guidelines are there, procedures or regulations are there, so onerous and draconian that no action is taken for local arrangement. That's why in today's era, UGC has given the guidelines for all the employees of the UGC controlled institutions. It's a serious academic dishonesty, and also a number of punitive action is also prescribed there. It starts from your blacklisting you as an academic person, and it also giving a threat to your information, passing information to your employer. It is coming as a threat to your professional life also. So issue is that with the growing diversity of the participants in higher education by age, educational background, so difficulty in understanding different maybe plagiarism, where the plagiarism will be and where it not, that is confusion exists among us. That's why I'm telling you my case, a senior researcher, I don't they are not actually researcher by want to get some PhD degree to protect the job, something like that. They are senior by age, telling me, madam, there is, I have written of my own, but when I am putting it in a plagiarism software, it coming 46% plagiarism. So that is the ignorance. That is by managing somehow the degree, but it's a long-term dishonesty that makes a long-term punishment. It is, if you can think of, it is very, very higher degree. We cannot afford it if at all we want to be in the higher academics. So we every time go by the citing others, go by the acknowledging others, go by the giving proper credit. If it is your student also, you feel you put the student's name with proper acknowledgement. So this is very required. So so word by word text, serious mistakes, quotations within quotation, sometimes now style changing the style, putting the plagiarism software technique has adopted. Somebody has told me very recently, madam, changing the style, that there will be no plagiarism. But that I'm telling you, believe me, Not only the text, copying your ideas also is also a part of the plagiarism. For some countries, the rule is very strict, or some countries the rule is very not so strict. But you have to believe that in the long run, God knows where the rules for in our country also will be like that. In so far my knowledge goes, in the developed nation, it is taken very seriously. Maybe in the underdeveloped country, it is sometimes ignores, academic community ignores it, but it is not a matter of ignorance. If you can check for the other countries around the world. So paraphrasing, summarizing other works can be done, but put a reference as simple. So when we summarize other work, we use our own words to condense, to convey others' contribution in shorter version. So paraphrasing other work not only must, so use your own word. Mane, simply you read it and write it in your own language. Write it in your own language, of course, put the reference. So you have not copied, you have learned. This is the sole intention of your presentation. Whether we are paraphrasing or summarizing, we must always identify the source of our information. So inappropriate paraphrasing is considered as a plagiarism. So specific facts and figures that we are discussing, so that is to be known by the readership, there one need to provide a citation. So the questions of whether the information we write about constitutes common knowledge is not easily answerable and depends on several factors, such as where the author is, who is the reader, and the expectation of each of these groups, the author and the reader. When in doubt as to whether a concept or fact is common knowledge, you please provide a citation. Reuse the own previously disseminated context and pass it to a new product without letting the reader know the material has happened previously. So, for authors of scientific or scholarly papers, acceptable practice is to submit the paper publication to a single journal. Don't, simultaneously, at the same time, you don't 3 or 4 journal, you do not attend. Wait for the comments to come. You don't do it. So, dual overlapping publication with slight modification of one one's work come out from the practice. It's not good. It's not good. So, change it. Do the invest some time. It will be done. So once you're owner of any work, anything, research is not always the technical one. They have the exclusive right to publish, reproduce, sell, distribute. Actually, parallelly, your copyright, your all these things will come into practice. So thing is the first thing is the to produce your original work. After that, the sequences. So wish to have their paper published in traditional journal. The typical arrangement is for the copyright of the author. Is a very big thing. So the copyright to be transferred, you can visualize it. I mean, our audience, there are some audience who have faced it. So the author, the journal can see, they reproduce and distribute the author legally. So many students, they are claiming that they understand plagiarism, but they do not know how to avoid it. So copyright infringement, when someone uses another person's material, that is copyright infringement, take care of it. So unauthorized, don't avoid the unauthorized use of the copyrighted work. So fair use. So exception to copyright infringement, follow your document. So a copyright offense is a serious offense. US Copyright Office 1996. When you are giving a good quality journal, international journal, so take care of the laws around the globe. Maybe a bit ignorable for our country. Maybe, I don't know. But don't try to play with the rules globally. It causes your harm. You never know Not at this stage, maybe after 5 years, after 10 years, who knows? So don't try to do it. So in some situation, a student or individual researcher may make a copy of journal article without asking permission. Then the drama starts. So it's not fair use. Read it, grasp it, produce it with reference. This is the slogan. So what the action can be done and if the dishonesty is found. So it lead to penalties which may be designed the school faculty to university level, anywhere. It's not that the teachers only for the us, it's for all. So substantial reduction of your remarks which can affect your final degree classification may happen. You don't know, you never know. So result is because to leave university. So professional level, plagiarism may lead to the termination, plagiarism may lead to the closure of the tenure or confiscation of academic degree. We don't know. Confiscation of the academic degree. We are very used in our country to use the crack software also. Actually, the rule is different from the country to country. So obviously, try to avoid it as much as possible. So it lead to the tenure, lead to the tenure termination, or last line, just confiscation of the academic degree. So we in the academia, if it is gone, we are gone forever. And for a sake of taking the shortcut, we need the degree, we want the degree right now, manage the degree somehow. No, you don't know, you never know how difficulty level will increase, when it will appear in your life. So practice from now on. Don't be very hungry about producing the degree at the moment you require it. This time, do it in a proper way. It will produce a good collaboration, good relation, good faith, good reliability, good trust, trustworthiness. It actually long persistent relation. So intentionally or unintentionally, we are doing it. So how to avoid it? This is the thing. This is the thing. So our many students that claim to understand that lecturers also should look to the design of opportunity to use or reward from the plagiarism out of their assessment. Assignment should be changed better each year, not just the trivial changing of the names which student easily spot. Ideally, each student should experience the assessment as being unique to themselves, with the task being individuals through their application and the use of knowledge and the skills. So assignment based primarily on the facts, tell me everything you know about, are more likely to be available on the growing number of sites, internet, web resources, rather than just to say assess the final products. So buildings, but this is probably the need for a lot of staff development in most higher educational institutions. What they have to learn, as well as pointing out the need to avoid the plagiarism on assignment brief, have the students sign a declaration must be signed. Like we are signing every time while submitting a journal. From the practice should be from the very lower age. So students also should sign a declaration that it is their own work when handling it. So having regulated hand-in and hand-back procedures also reduces the likelihood of the students acquiring others' work and copying it. Students often feel that honor system is the most likely to deter many forms of misbehavior. So if it is detected, so there are so many things can be happen. So all are the you have got some softwares in hand. I mean, Turnitin is on one. and my institute you have another software. Nowadays, the practice is with the software. So why to take the risk? You check it through plagiarism software. So most academics do not use any dedicated electronic detection software. Some of the institute, I'm giving the link, you can check of your own by a nominal charge. So most responded that they are aware of electronic. Ideally, every institute should have a software for the plagiarism. So not a single service software that will detect all the sources of plagiarized material encountered by academia. The good the software is, the detection level is good. Okay. So here it is the drill bit software. It is there. I found in my institute. In some other Targeting, some other Ubuntu. No. It is a Linux version. There is some other software. AICT is practicing. This is also good. So software to software, they are showing the where the similarity percentage. You can check the good the software is. What happens in real life now? Every institute don't have that type of software. Then what the faculties will do? I'm giving the link with some nominal cost they can. So is possible. So review from an academia, user perspective confirm the function of the electronic detection of the services software as limited to detecting the instances of the material cut and pasted from the internet. So don't do that. So you have seen what are the this type of rules যে so many reference type, we should not leave it here. So even another I forgot to mention. Suppose you have used an internet resources, you just put your library work, the website access on that queue. Why? Because this is going on changing. Suppose when your reader will read it, they can find some other date, some other things. So accessed or the internet on that particular date, you write it. Okay. So the date you find it. Okay. So there are some, and I should not mention, everybody knows there are 2 or 3 styles. And some software is there which will auto-reference it if you mention the style. So everything now, it is in the era of software, it is everything is arranged for you. Just, but I am always telling everybody, try to write of your own. Don't use the refresh software. Those who are seriously in dearth of time, they can, of course. So try to cite it properly. So some things in life that are morally more important, morally something is very important, very important. Something morally, it is very important. So we are doing research endeavors. It's just steps of life, but morally, ethically sound, being a good human is required. So human dignity and respect for the individual autonomy. We are going for the so respect it, then the relation will be built up. Moral responsibility increases in proportion to the knowledge. If you discover a suspect plagiarism for somebody, so as the act is just has to hear, but it is cheating, your conception, your perception about him or her will change. So it is important to have clear procedures and regulations, be fair, consistent and transparent. So disciplinary procedures, of course, every institute is now ideally to practice. In the coming days, you will see it will be more and more harder. So disciplinary procedures for dealing with plagiarism and other acts of academic misconduct should be separated from the credit awarding procedures of examination board. So plagiarism was traditionally detected and dealt with within the institutions rather than the individuals. If your institution will practice it, individual will automatically correct it. So that have a clear policy. Criteria must include the degree of intent, the level of study, and the background of the student whether this was the first occurrence, the extent of that plagiarism. It is important to keep a good record, particularly on modular courses where no one may have a good picture of what the individual student is doing. So grow some concern, and the penalties for student student includes to research student also. The plagiarism and inconsistent between the it will if you find some inconsistency, don't be make a preconceived notion about the student. Is a senior, so it cannot be done by him or her. Just use the software. Now it is available. So why to take the risk? Because you cannot convince somebody. If you can tell somebody now, yeah, I have faced in my life, they are so confident about cheating, they are so confident about the wrongdoing. You cannot force them, you cannot convince them. Better try to tell them without anti-plagiarism report, you please do not submit it to me. Khatam. So anti-plagiarism report, of course, will make something that you can show. We say, as in the internet era, in the digital era, willingly or intentionally or unintentionally, we are doing that. Nobody is me, you, everybody. Easy way, na? So everybody is of dearth of time, na? So ethics is to the responsibility attempt to figure out right versus wrong, virtuous versus vicious. Take a pause to reason, not merely checklist. And ideally, it is have to do. We can take that. I have done. It's not like that. So the interest of welfare of the individual should have the priority over the sole interest of the science or society, not be reduced to instruments. Science is not in the end in itself, but a means to serve individual and society. This is the attitude of privilege. I mean, degree is not for the sake of degree, it builds life. So it's goes to honesty, goes to morality, increases ethical value. But whenever you are going to tell them, they are taking it, they are taking fun out of it, you are giving advice. But how serious it is, how serious the penalty is, you never know. If you can check the history, I cannot take the name of the big shots who willingly, of course, not unwillingly, unwillingly found victims of the situation. It's not possible for a supervisor checking page by page, line by line. Nowadays, it's a very in the form of very gift of the society, anti-plagiarism software. Put it within a fraction of time, you can get it. Otherwise, previously, unintentionally, there is a signature of the supervisor. How can he or she, from his busy life, page by page, line by line checking? Is not possible, and people will not hear. It's a mistake. But after 20 years, after 25 years, found guilty, think of it, not only the embarrassing situation, but also the academic penalty, professional penalty. So how the sufferer will be a person if it is neglected. Now it is neglected. It should not be neglected forever. So show the concern, take care of the matter, and so duty, responsibility to adhere to values in a specific context, to follow certain rules of conduct is very important. So respect, respect, and respect. To avoid the two research obligations, duty to avoid harm, non-maleficencies, exploitation, abuse, unwanted taking, unwanted risk, duty to do good, the beneficency, respects and benefits, protection of wellness, rights, and socio-cultural diversity. So, in summary, what we can tell, the dignity is a minimum threshold of research conduct. So, ethics principle, direct and indirect benefits to participants should be maximized, and possible harm and risk should be minimized. So, research is always risky. Beneficiaries, this is the direct benefits, material health, psychological, information, if you once you have done it, somehow you have copied it, it will be your pain. You have not done it, it's free from all. So societal benefits, knowledge, economic, public health, so tendency to overestimate. So this is the link. You can take the help of the link where with a minimal cost you can check your material. I mean, with some of course page limitation. If your institute has no anti-plagiarism software, and every institute has got its anti-plagiarism software, so you can take the help of it. So maybe I don't know, there are some others also. Basically I can right now I'm not giving, but I can give you that plagiarism found, rephrasing it. So everything is possible now in the internet digital era. So so that's all about what we want to communicate to you. And if you have any questions, you can ask me.
That's a very nice talk and a very informative talk delivered by you, madam. So I also request you all the participants, if you are having any query, kindly ask directly to madam. You can first unmute yourself and you can then ask the query.
Good morning, madam. I am Dr. Piyush Datta from Greater Kolkata College of Engineering and Management.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir. Morning, sir.
yeah. Ma'am, actually, I have some doubt regarding the plagiarism checking. Is there any kind of word limitation? Suppose if a text, if I just check the plagiarism for a particular article, suppose in
word limitation, na page limitation.
yeah, page limitation, but there will
Page
be some
limitations.
consequence word is matching, then somehow it will be detected as a plagiarized.
Oh, acha, I got your question. What
Yes.
particular word na? You can check it. What I'm telling, every anti-plagiarism software is giving you a report, na?
Yes, yes,
Suppose phrase, mane
yes.
not a single word.
Okay.
The application of the word, 3-4 word, if it is found, mane part of the sentence.
Yes,
Part
yes,
of the
yes,
sentence
yes.
if found, then it comes under
Okay.
similarity. Mane
Okay.
you have to write of your own.
Okay, okay.
Okay, madam. Any more question from the participant? Can ask directly to madam. So madam, on behalf of Greater Kolkata College of Engineering and Management, a small token of appreciation I'd like to provide to you. Just
I have to unshare, na? It is unshared, no?
no, I am sharing my.
Then is it possible from your end, or I have to do something? Yes, okay. Okay, okay.
Okay.
Yours.
So this is one.
Okay.
So this is a small token of appreciation, which
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
on
Thank you
behalf
very
of
much.
GKCM, we would like to give you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a very nice time to be with you, your principal. We have a very good relation.
Yes,
I'm obliged that we have spent some time and she has given some time to
yes,
make it happen. Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And to all the participants, so we'll be sharing your feedback link as well as the questionnaire session, and you just fill up the that feedback link and or submit those questionnaire sessions, and by within 10 p.m.
Sir.
To all the participants, I am telling this. Okay.
Sir, can I leave?
Yes, yes, madam.
Okay, thank you very much. Then I'm leaving now. Huh?
Yes,
okay.
yes, madam.
Okay. For further any queries, if you require any help, anytime, you don't be hesitant to reach to me, right? Okay. Oh, thank you very much, sir. I'm leaving now. Okay.
So participants are request to the session is today's session is the feedback link and the assignment link will be shared in your WhatsApp group. So please kindly fill up this form by today 10 p.m. Okay, thank you. The session is over now. Thank you.